Title: Update, ex-wife desperately pleads for reconciliation after infidelity. The therapist objects to my phrasing of fooling around, and instead suggests I call it my suspicion of infidelity. Really? No woman is worth this much trouble. As for my ex, she's been through a string of jobs, moved back in with her parents, and is currently bouncing between a few different men. She just can't seem to stop. Hello everyone, I'm so happy to see you again in this story. We are back with another update from one of our subscribers. Actually, I have two updates here for you. We recently had an updated story and now he's back with another one. To give you a quick recap, this is the guy who was married. Let's clarify a bit, was he a doctor? No, it was his wife who was in the medical field, a doctor or a nurse. The wife's father provided them with a beautiful home. In his first update, he made it clear that he's not claiming to be rich or wealthy, he just considers himself fortunate because his parents did well and supported him and his wife. However, his wife didn't reciprocate that support for him or their marriage. She was caught cheating and he hired a private investigator to confirm it. If you want to catch up on the original video, you can find it here. I'll also link his clarification and the first update in the description, so feel free to check those out. Let's dive into this new update, which he's calling Update 5 because he had several updates in the original story. Here's a brief overview of his visit to his soon-to-be ex-wife's therapist. He starts by explaining that he attended the session on the recommendation of his lawyer. The therapist, a pleasant lady in her early 40s with a cheerful voice, asks him why he's seeking therapy. He replies that he's there on his lawyer's advice, as his wife was cheating and he's pursuing a divorce. He's trying to comply with reasonable requests from her side, so he agreed to this one visit. But he states clearly that he only needs legal advice, which he already has. He mentions he is recording the meeting, to which the therapist objects, suggesting he call it his suspicion of infidelity. Are you serious? He asks her if she's seen the motel video of his soon-to-be ex-wife and Melvin. He wonders if she's going to try to gaslight him on his ex-wife's behalf. He also tells her that he doesn't need lessons on speaking English. The therapist changes tack, saying she doesn't need to see the video. The therapist then asks if he's aware that his soon-to-be ex-wife believes the marriage is worth saving and wants to start the reconciliation process, accepting that she has to regain his trust. He tells her he doesn't care what his ex thinks or wants anymore, the marriage is over due to her actions, and he just wants to finalize the divorce and move on with his life. At this point, his soon-to-be ex-wife begins crying, pleading to save the marriage and asking what she needs to do. His response? Sure, stop sleeping with Melvin and whoever else you've been involved with, and prove that you haven't given me an STD. You made your bed, now lie in it. He tells the therapist he didn't come for another round of his wife's tears, which he's already dealt with. The therapist tries to assure him that his wife's tears are a sign of her sincerity in wanting to reconcile. Wow. He suggests his wife should try to reconcile with Melvin instead because he's not interested. The therapist then asks why he's refusing reconciliation, and he explains he isn't refusing anything. He just has a choice between two paths, trying to repair a relationship that's likely beyond repair, filled with suspicion and mistrust, or moving on to possibly build a future with someone who respects fidelity. He tells the therapist that, as it stands, even thinking about being intimate with his wife makes him nauseous, and there's no guarantee that will ever change. How could reconciliation happen under these circumstances? The therapist dodges the question, but he refrains from pushing further to avoid coming off as confrontational. When the therapist asks why sex with his soon-to-be ex-wife is repulsive to him, he replies that his doctor still can't assure him that he's STD-free and he doesn't know where his wife was the night before. The therapist suggests he could use a condom, but he points out that this only solves part of the problem and that it might already be too late. His soon-to-be ex-wife had recklessly put his life and her own at risk for her affair with Melvin. The therapist offers some platitudes about not being able to change the past, But he thanks her and states that he's choosing to look to the future, not dwell on the past. Suddenly, his soon-to-be ex-wife collapses to the floor, screaming and hitting herself in the head. He calmly remarks, "More self-injury," before standing up and saying he's seen enough. He tells the therapist he's leaving, thanks her for her time, and walks out. He calls his lawyer and recounts the whole episode. The lawyer tells him he handled it exactly as they wanted by leaving when things escalated. A couple of days later, his lawyer calls to inform him that his wife is no longer contesting the divorce but wants to discuss a property settlement. They set up a four-way call with his lawyer, his soon-to-be ex-wife, and her lawyer. Before the call, his lawyer advises him not to lash out, despite some offensive remarks from her side. When their demands prove unacceptable, he tells his wife that if she tries to rob him, her family name will be a joke in the city, and everyone will be knocking on her door for favors. Silence follows and the call ends. His lawyer, trying to stifle laughter, comments that they'll get back to him. Let me give my thoughts. Wow. This guy is a complete savage, fed up and done with everything. He went to the therapy session because his lawyer suggested it might help his case in court, showing he tried to make things work. But he's clearly reached his limit. His wife knows it's over and she's desperate, which is why she's crying. Yet, at the end of this update, she's still asking for a property settlement. This woman ruined the relationship with her affair, and now she wants compensation? Ridiculous. Guys, if you haven't seen the original video, it's linked in the description and also in the cards here. I'm glad this guy is standing firm. You're doing great, man. Keep us updated. Stay tuned for more updates, folks, and if you have a story to share, send it to Lessons from Life. Catch you in the next one.